I'm dead tomorrow.
What's up? Now, if you want to listen, you can.
You can listen, I guess.
Who's sitting with me?
Huh?
All right, we are live.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hey. Are we on Facebook too?
Nope, just YouTube.
Oh.
So one of them, did she?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. There we go. But this is YouTube Live now, so you'll wait until people can
got
come
on
in
the
here.
headphones like she official.
Can you hear her? You can hear her, Katrina? You can hear her?
I hear everything. I hear myself.
Oh, dear. So, did you all learn anything from this episode that you didn't know before?
She was a stick in the mud.
You didn't know she was sick?
No.
Oh, wait, rigid?
Just
Rigid?
no, not rigid or stick in the mud.
What was
just
the word?
I seen stick in the mud. That's what I saw.
I saw stick in the mud too.
Reserved. Just a little more reserved than most. That's the better word.
Conservative.
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 Yes,
is a good word.
I like
You should have been down here.
conservative. That's
You
the
know what
word.
we
That's the word we'll use. Conservative. So yes, I do too.
So, until we have some more people, can any of you guys ask her a thought-provoking question? This also will save, and people will be able to watch it later, so this is not just something that's not... If you guys have any questions, just so we can get people in the habit of, after the podcast, we're going to go live, so this just might be an adjustment period, but you guys can ask questions. You can ask them on Facebook if they have any questions, if they have things that they didn't know, that they learned from the episode.
Even though we know the answers to it?
Sure. If you want her to answer it.
Right now, or you said?
Sure, you can answer it. You can answer
Okay,
it.
I want to know, when you look in the mirror or just reflect about the person you were when you had your first child, when you had your second child, when you had your last baby, to who you are now, because I know that there has to be a difference. I didn't know you back then, but just to hear you talk about your conservativeness and what I see now, I think there has been a change. What do you see?
You mean a change as far as my conservativeness, or just overall?
Just your being, how you exist now versus the way you were before.
Well, the way I was before was everything I did revolved around my kids and my husband. So I never really had an opportunity to be selfish or just to figure out who I was. Because I was always, first I was a daughter, then I was a wife, then I was a mother, then, everything just centered around that. And everything I did was in some way connected to my role as a wife and or mother. And so I very rarely did anything that was just for me, because everything I did was for somebody else in my family. So it was just really different when the kids grew up, when Jalen was finishing up school and spending a lot of time with his father, when the marriage was over and it was like, wow, I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to cook dinner every day. I don't even have to come home. If I don't come home by a certain time, nobody's even going to look for me. I remember coming in the house and the house being dark, unlocking the door. Really coming in the garage because I never used the door. But I would, go through we had an attached garage, go through the door. The house would be dark and I'm like, wow, nobody's here. I could do what I want to do. I can go upstairs, go lay down, and stay in the bed for the next 2 days if I want to. Nobody's going to even, it ain't going to affect nobody. Because nobody's depending on me to do anything. And it really made me feel like nobody needs me anymore. And so that was the hardest thing to deal with until I started really, the 40 Plus Double Dutch Club gave me a sense of purpose that I felt like I lost when I didn't feel like I wasn't a wife anymore. And although I was still a mother, my kids didn't need me the way they used to. So, you know, it makes you feel like, man, what am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing? So I think that the big difference between me then and now is that I actually am intentional about, I have something that's just for me and not for everybody else.
So do you feel like you've grown from conservative to outside of being conservative?
I'm still conservative. I'm not as conservative as I used to be, though. I'm
Yeah, 'cause
definitely
I heard
not
you didn't
as
dance
conservative.
Before, but you be getting your boogie on.
That's a little extreme. That's a little extreme. No, I
You
don't.
be
I'll do
dancing.
I'll do a line dance here or there.
What's
I'll do the double dutch slide.
That's more than you ever did.
That's more than I ever did.
So that
That's
shows
what
growth.
I said.
That's
But
growth.
That is-
that is growth. But I wouldn't say I'm getting my boogie on.
Yes,
I
you are.
wouldn't say
You're
that.
getting your
Pam's
boogie on.
version of
But-
boogie,
But
right?
like I
You cannot get
know, back before I wouldn't wear shorts. You could never get me in a swimming suit without a cover up, covering up everything. Oh no,
Never.
Look at you
No.
now.
She never wore leggings.
no.
She didn't
I
wear
said
none
no. Once you get to be a certain age, you shouldn't have no leggings on. Now look at me, I wear leggings every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Why she getting her boogie
Every
on?
day. With leggings. So no, it was very,
And
very
skirts.
conservative. Very conservative.
You mentioned something about when you were growing up that you didn't have any friends and you all were sheltered. As of then and now that you have over 45,000 sisters, what is your take and how do you feel about that?
So I didn't say I didn't have any friends. When I was growing up, I always had Niecy and Sam. They were my next door neighbors. Those were my best friends from the time I was little. So I always had them. And I always had my sisters who were my best friends.
And those are the only
And I would have like a few close friends in grammar school and in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was never the popular girl because we
But
couldn't
now
do
that
nothing.
you're
We couldn't go
popular.
nowhere. And then in college and even after college, I always had a circle of really close friends. It's my sister calling me.
Outrageous. Give me the phone.
Good question, you know.
She wants to ask a question.
Wrong
So,
portion she did.
So, yeah, I always had a really close circle of friends. And I had maybe, what would you say, Katrina? I had like 10 or 15 really close friends.
She had a lot of us. A lot of us.
I had a really
Associates
And guess
or
what?
friends?
Just
Well,
like
they
all
were
of the ladies
friends.
are showing up for her now, all of her friends showed up. She called and we were there.
Absolutely.
She has always been an amazing friend.
Yeah, I had a very close circle of friends. But that was when I was grown. When I was a kid, I was not popular. I didn't have a lot of friends in school. And I don't want to blame my mother.
But
However,
You take a blue juice away from a kid?
yeah.
and chips, and the chips.
Right. The red juice.
She made sure they ain't had no chips or juice in the cafeteria.
Just carrots and celery sticks.
And then my mother would do stuff like, because she was a school nurse, and so she knew all the kids. She would do stuff like, we would be at the library, because that was one of the things we got to do for fun, is go to the library, Bellwood Public Library. Yeah, so we would be in the library, and my mother would see some kids, you know, in the aisles of the library, a boy and a girl. She would tap them on the shoulder. Did your mother know you're here with her? Did your mother? I'm going to call your parents. I know your parents. I know their numbers. I have everyone's numbers. I'm going to call them and make sure they know what you're doing after school. Kids didn't like us.
Where Mama felt
Call Mama Pell on the line.
Get her on the phone.
What is going on?
That's kind of stuff she used to do. Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of friends in school.
I'm surprised
Of
I
course
wasn't throwing no rocks at you.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see why.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I mean,
It's
it
starting
all
to make
worked out.
sense
It all
now. It's
worked out.
starting
It
to
all
all.
worked out.
Yes. There is a question from someone that that says, "Why do you continue to say you raised me? How does a
Who could that be?
4-year-old raise a 2-year-old?
I don't know who that question is from. I'm not sure who that question is from, but I will say I was always very mature.
See?
Very mature.
4-year-old raised a
You
2-year-old.
know what I'm saying?
I was very mature and very responsible. And so, yes, I did help raise one particular 2-year-old. And she's doing quite well now. I'm so proud of her.
Very nice.
Mhm.
So would you change anything that you've gone through, or would you not have this testimony if God did not allow you to go through this turmoil?
I would not have this testimony if God had not allowed everything to happen the way it happened and when it happened. So you know how we hear that God can take your pain and turn it into your purpose. That's exactly what happened. So no, I wouldn't change anything, because if I did change something, we might not all be here today. So no, we can't. God's timing is always perfect, and God always, He uses everything that happens to us for our good. And even though we can't see it at the time, you know, you'll be going through stuff and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why do I have to go through this? But you have to just, that's where faith comes in. And you have to know that whatever's happening is for a reason, because God knows what He's doing. And we might never understand those reasons. But if you have faith, then you will see, you know what? I see how God was working everything out.
Oh, that's right. That kind of leads us to our next question. This is from Stephanie A. Roberts. Hey, Stephanie. It says, in what way do you feel that you have personally and spiritually as a result of God's designing this movement at such a time as this?
Okay, just answer a
What
simple
say you?
question, huh, Stephanie? Can you repeat the question, please?
What way do you feel that you have evolved grown personally and spiritually as a result of God's designing this movement at a time such as this?
Has shown me time myself. It's true. Like God has shown me how to do anything for His glory, and He can use those unlikely people to glorify Him in ways that we could have never imagined, because I never ever could have envisioned that day that I went to Katrina's house, just, you know, with the thought that, you know what, I need something. I need something to get me out of the bed. I need something to look forward to. Could never have envisioned where God would take it to. I mean, we are a whole nonprofit 501c3 organization now. If somebody had told me and Katrina back in 2016, you know what, this is going to turn into a business, we would have been like, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. And people even now say, all you do is go around and jump double dutch. No, man, it's a movement. It's more than that. I don't even jump half the time anymore. But the fact that God saw fit to use me and Katrina and a double dutch rope just further shows that God can do anything. And so I think that's how, that's the main thing that I've learned, and that has helped me to grow spiritually and believe that if God could do this with me and with Katrina and with the plastic clothesline, He really can do anything. Anything.
Lovely.
What else you got?
Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the magnitude this movement developed into? This is from Miss Teresa Shackelford.
Miss Teresa Shackelford in Richmond, Virginia. It is overwhelming sometimes, but because of the fact that I am surrounded by people that I know placed in my life, I know that everything is going to be okay, because it's a lot And I don't think, once again, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she was saying something about, because we hadn't connected in a while. And I'm like, man, where you been? Every time I call you, you don't answer the phone. Starting to get offended. And she said, I've been working. I'm like, some people have to work. I'm like, oh, I work. And she's like, you don't work. You just jump and double dutch. See, y'all see I got an issue. I brought it up 2 times in 2 minutes. So she said,
This is the first time I've heard
I
that.
said twice to her earlier today. Right. I'm like, I'm not just jumping double dutch. So it is a little overwhelming having to, manage so many. There's so many moving parts all at once. And having to manage all of those things is a lot. But I know that all of the people that are working with us have our best interests at heart. And God put these people in our path for a reason. So there are people that have different skills and talents that Katrina and I do not have and don't claim to have. We're willing to learn some stuff, but some people have these natural gifts. Everybody has their gift. So we're just glad that God brought them to us and that they are willing to use their gifts to help us grow this movement. So that helps when we start to feel overwhelmed.
And we have another question from Stephanie A.
Oh.
Of course. What can you share with other women about trusting God with faith moves and following God's direction?
Stephanie. She's the greatest. It is so important. I wake up every morning and do my devotion before I do anything else, before I answer my messages, before I check my emails. It's the first thing I do. I am constantly seeking God's wisdom and asking Him to show me the direction He wants me to go in. Because I can't just do things the way I would do them, because I know I'm human and I know that I am far from perfect. And so I'm constantly asking God to show me, which way do you want me to go? Which moves do you want me to make? Which things are going to really help the most women? What is it that you need me to do? And then I got to sit back and listen for God to answer that and show me the way. I'm always asking God, order my steps, my thoughts, my actions, my words, my facial expressions. He's still working on that. He's still working. But I know God is able. He can do anything but fail. So I think that I would just advise anybody to trust God. Even when you feel like, this doesn't even make sense. There are things that don't make sense. There are things that we think are impossible, but anything is possible with God. So we just have to trust God and lean not into our own understanding, because His ways, His thoughts are so far above ours that we can't anticipate what might happen. Once again, Katrina and I could never have anticipated that we would one day have sub-clubs all over the world, in different cities, different countries. We never, even when we first started the sub-clubs in Oak Park, in South Holland, different areas in the Chicagoland area, we never thought, people from New York, like Denise Adams, who reached out from New York, Aisha Jackson, who reached out from Philly. We wouldn't have guessed that was going to happen. We're like, dang, they want to do this in another state? Okay. But God, He was directing us the whole way. And so we just try to make sure that we are always putting God first and seeking Him before we make any decisions or any moves. Because we know He got it covered. Anything else, Stephanie?
We have some more questions on YouTube. Paula Tripp says,
Paula Tripp.
What advice
sister.
would you give to young wives and mothers?
Oh,
It's a beautiful question. Too soon, don't do
What
it.
advice would I give to young wives and mothers?
Yep. Let's hear
You
it.
know, I've been married and divorced twice. I might not be the one to ask that question. But I'm engaged now, and they say the third time's the charm. So I am trusting God that this is the one. For young wives and mothers, I would say for sure you have to put God first. And right after God comes your husband, not your kids, not your friends, not your parents, not your sisters, but God first and then your spouse. But you also have to make sure that you're not losing yourself when you get married. And I think a lot of us do lose ourselves because we're trying so hard to be everything to everyone else that we lose sight of who we are. So it's important to make sure that you are still taking care of yourself. Other than that, you just got to trust God. I don't know that my ex-husband and I used to be very actively involved in our married couples ministry. We did counseling, premarital counseling. We did everything we did was with other couples. And then our marriage ended. So I really try not to give marital advice these days. So, yeah, Paula's been married for, what is it going to be? We both got married in 98. So my marriage lasted 20 years.
And then 27.
So I think she's going to be 25 years. So, yeah, Paula, I would send a young wife or mother to you. That's what I do. How about that?
Good answer.
Okay. Thank you. How did you feel, and what age were your children when you finally received your degree?
Okay. Who asked that question?
Donna Jackson.
Okay, Donna. When I finally received I got my bachelor's degree in 1995, in June of 1995 from Chicago State University. So Julian was 4 and Jordan was 2 when I got, well, they were about to be 4 and 2 when I got my degree. So I didn't stay out of school for very long because I was actually pretty good at school.
Donna
So,
C. That's Donna C.
Okay, Donna C.
She said, I'm about to let you know who I am.
Oh,
Like, so I can,
okay,
get a
Donna
nice
C.
smile. So.
That's Katrina's co-captain in the Country Club Hill Sub Club.
Paula
All right.
says she's still trying to figure it out too. So thank you.
Okay, Paula. Well, I think you are on the right path, Paula. You're doing a good job. But so I was almost 25 when I got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my master's degree in 2013. So Julian graduated from high school in 2010. Jordan graduated in 2011. And Jalen graduated in 2019. So he was still a little guy when I got my master's degree in counseling. And my plan was to be a school guidance counselor. But I kind of did a pivot because Jordan had started Jordy Cakes, but she was still baking out of our house. And the day of my graduation, she was not able to attend my graduation because I think she had like 8 orders that day. And when I got home from the graduation, she was spazzing out.
Spazzing is a very strong word.
Oh, she was spazzing out.
I was crying.
Spazzing
tears
out.
of emotion.
So I had to help her deliver. You were doing that cake for Zena Smith. She was doing a baby shower cake for her. So I had to help her deliver the cake and came back. We were having a graduation party. Came back and we ended up having a meeting about how Jordan really needed some assistance. She needed a manager. And so I became her manager for Jordy Cakes. And I did not end up going to work because I became manager. And that was a very, very interesting position, working with her. It was great.
I'm sure you guys have another podcast episode. So yes, that was your age. Lovely. Thank you so much for that. But no, you didn't stay out of school long. That was really the thing. You finished. You just came home. Okay. Do you see any more questions, Katrina, on Facebook?
I do not. I see a comment from one of your co-captains, Tomika. She says your testimony is a blessing to all of us, Tam. Thank you for listening to God. Walking by faith and not by sight opens up so many doors to manifest many movements.
Thank you, Tamika. I get so many people saying, "Ugh, she's saying her testimony again." I'm not gonna say Molly's name, but she said when she sees me write testimony Tuesday, she just scroll to the bottom, just scroll to the bottom to see if I had anything important to say. That's all right.
We do have one last question that could be the final.
Okay.
This says, where do you see 40 Plus going in the future? What is the vision?
Who's asking me?
Macy. I wasn't trying to say. I was trying to keep it a secret. Your daughter. Right, exactly.
Other
Raised her so
child,
well.
the one I helped raise.
Exactly.
That's funny. So, I've learned not to put any limitations on God. So I can't say where I see this going or what my vision is because I'm just following God's direction. And wherever God sees us going, whatever plans God has for us and for this movement, Katrina and I are right here ready to serve. So we just want God to continue to use us in whatever way He sees fit. And we're not trying to say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're asking God for direction and just listening to what He's saying and following what He tells us.
I have a correction. That was not your co-captain. That was Tomika Evans in East Atlanta. I do
Love that.
Yes.
Still, same
Oh,
vibes.
Tamika Evans. Tamika Evans is the one who videotaped us when we were in Wisconsin. All right, Tamika Evans.
Lisa Williams. Lisa Williams says she's grateful to that she met you and Katrina yesterday. Grateful to that. She was probably part of the Orlando.
She must have been part of the Orlando group.
So
Yes, she's the one. I think. Lisa, are you the one that said you were there for the first time yesterday? I think she is. I think Lisa's the first one.
Yeah.
So, and it was amazing getting to connect with them because we got to tell them our story firsthand, and they got to ask us questions in person. So that was nice. Ideally, if we could go around to all the sub-clubs and talk to everybody one-on-one, us and the group, that would be amazing. But I'm not going to say that's my vision because it's God's vision. It ain't about me.
You should just put it out
Put it
there.
out there.
Put it out there, and He
Put
can
it out
guide
there,
you.
write the vision,
lead
make it
you.
plain.
Yes,
She just
there
put
you
it
go.
out there. She
Yeah, you
said
said-
that's what she would like.
I would love to do that. We have said that
Mm-hmm.
before. We're going to
In your
end with
last
our
word.
theme
I
song.
did.
I'd like Katrina to come and sing.
Yeah, Katrina, can you go on camera, please?
Come on, Katrina Renee.
Come on. Said the song. I'll pull it up.
Pull it on up.
I'll pull it up. I know you want to pull it up. Oh, I'm not here.
And episode 2 is starring our very own Katrina Renee Dyer Taylor, y'all.
And both left.
That's right.
Oh, it's not her fault.
I would like to thank everyone for tuning in today to our very first podcast episode. Please like it and share it with your friends, especially if you have friends who are women over 40, friends, family members, associates who are over 40. We want as many women to become a part of this movement as possible. We're still trying to get our documentary out on streaming platforms, but in the meantime, we can still tell our stories right here and show you all some of the women whose lives have been impacted by our by 40 Plus Double Dutch Club and who are working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to help impact even more lives. So please share our podcast so that we can keep doing this. And like I said, Katrina's going to be in next week's episode, and then we have my mother, the mom of the movement, is coming up. We got Stephanie A. Roberts coming up, DJ Goldie Locks. We got our brand ambassador, Gina Jacobs. We got Marty. Juanita Marty is coming up. She's one of our members who we have seen her transform into a a ray of sunshine. A ray of sunshine. Miss Pat, our international delegate. We have Lavelle, who's one of our newest members, who just jumped right in, and she has been involved in everything we've done since she joined, a few months back. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up, and we really want you all to tune in. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us what you want to see. If this season goes well, we're gonna do another season. So, and we can include more people. They're playing our song, Katrina. Come on, you will see. We get all back here. A sisterhood for me. Y'all gotta come over here. We gotta zoom in together. We wanna say, come jump with us. Jump with us. Oh, that's lovely. I know. That's double dutch. Have fun with us. Fun with us. And you live a life with us. Just look beyond the ropes and you will see a sisterhood for you, a sisterhood for me, a sisterhood for all of those to be. We want to say, come jump with us. Jump with us. Say, come play with us. We want to say, come join the 40 plus double dutch. Okay, y'all here it comes. I wrote that part, y'all. Katrina wrote the rest.
She just did it. We'll add it.
Why would y'all not look and see it?
All right.
Look and see what?
Say bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Now we're
See you next week.
Oh, you said
I
it
think
was
it's
a delay.
bye.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna have to push me.
Your mom called, also your sister,
To see if you were able to see the comments.